This is Between Hook Sets. I'm Jason Walter from In Through the Outdoors with my partner in slime, Kurt Underhill from the fishing crew.
How we doing tonight, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
I'm not doing too bad. You know, though, that hook set you did, it's getting to be ice season. You're going to have to go like
this.
I
suppose.
You can't do honestly, the whole, I mean, we're getting so close to ice season that you're going to fall out of your off your bucket in the shack if you hook set like that.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I was on the ice earlier today, not ice fishing. I just went out to see what the lake was like. And I'd say 3 inches. I gave a quick little bounce on it, and I heard it crack and went, ooh, not enough for me yet. But
not quite enough. It's coming. I've heard there's some guys up by Watertown that are on the ice starting like in this week. So it's coming. The weather looks good for it. And hopefully the snow holds off and the ice comes.
Yeah, it's going to be a beauty, eh? If I wasn't going to St. Paul, I'd be fishing tomorrow and Friday and Saturday and Sunday, but I'm going to leave for St. Paul early in the morning on Friday morning and go hang out and have a good time. So I'm looking forward to that anyway.
Yeah, checking out the St. Paul Ice Show and taking in some seminars, putting your puzzle together. And
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and speaking of, let me just mention this real quick before we get started. Speaking of pieces of the puzzle, Jason Mitchell next Wednesday night at 7 o'clock, he's got a class to teach. So we're just going to have him on for about 30 minutes. It should be fun. He's going to do seminars at the Shields Ice Fest in Sioux Falls on the 8th, 9th, 10th, something like that.
Well, you know, speaking of seminars, our next guest will be in St. Paul,
right?
Giving some seminars. And then in January, he'll be out at the Denver International Show doing some seminars there. And I've known Nate for quite a few years. So it'll be great. Let's bring Nate in and talk to Nate a little bit. So people that don't know Nate, give him a little background about you, where you're from, and what you kind of all do. It's a plethora of things.
That's what I appreciate you guys having me on. So yeah, Nate Zelinsky, home base is Colorado, right in Front Range. I live in the mountains just outside of Denver, and I kind of split my career in the fashion of probably 40% of my available time I spend in the woods hunting, and 60% of the time fishing. So kind of neat. The hunting side is fairly small. I'm all about education. My goal is to work with a handful of partners. We create content, pump the content out, and it's all real-time educational content to help people create more success. So it's all about yourself hunter, generic tags, generic situations, and how to overcome the obstacles and create success. So spend a lot of times in the wood cranking on that content for a handful of partners. It's a good time. And I'm a former 10-year big game guide, but now I just do content on the hunting side. And then fishing side, you name it. We do radio, TV, social media. We run a large scale event on both open water and ice. We run a very large guide service and everything in between, seminars and just general content. So yeah, a little bit of everything on the fishing side.
On your guide service, you know, your fishing guide service, what are you guiding for Colorado? You know, I know there's walleyes out there. People don't think Colorado's a walleye destination, but what do you all guide for out there when you're in Colorado?
You know, it's incredible. I would say Colorado fishing is twofold. So we don't have near the water that almost everybody else has in the country, right? So, you know, from my house, I'm driving an hour, 2 hours sometimes to various waters. So our waters are limited, but the fact that we have such variation in elevation, you know, I have ice. I can find ice in October and I can stay on the ice until June if I want to. I can boat all year long at certain bodies of water. So we have everything due to our elevation of going up to 14,000 and down to, 5,500. So really cool obstacles there, or options there, I should say. But fish wise, I would say that our number one guide trip is probably walleye. Number two is probably rainbows, and then 3 is probably tied between lake trout and pike. So it's incredible. And walleye, we have everything. So you go out in that peak water temperature of 68 to 72, we can have a 200 fish day on walleyes. Small male 17-18 inch fish, but a 200 fish day on a guide trip is not uncommon. So we have epic numbers. And then like the biggest fish we've seen this year is probably right around that 14 and a half, 15 pounds. Biggest we've seen as a company is a 17-pound walleye. Our Colorado state record is 18-13. So we get giant walleyes. So huge walleyes. You know, we get Lakers. I think everybody saw the lake trout that came out this spring. You know, that 73-pounder. We get 40-pound Lakers fairly consistent. We get 30-pound pike. I would say more consistently, we probably get 25 to 26-pound pike, but brushing 30 wouldn't be uncommon. So world-class fish, and we get them on both open water and ice.
That's just, I mean, it's incredible to people don't think Colorado for fishing, right? I mean,
No.
and you're tapping into a market that is completely, you know, it's an abundance of fish to catch. You know, a 200 fish day anywhere on a guide trip is incredible. To hear you can do that in Colorado is, you know, probably mind blowing to a lot of people, you know, and you know, the one reservoir, the only reservoir I know out there is Pueblo, you know, Pueblo Reservoir, but you know, obviously you're probably not just guiding on Pueblo. There's other lakes.
Rarely guide on Pueblo. We're right in the Denver metro, and that's probably the coolest part is we're doing this on tiny bodies of water. You know, like Chatfield's probably my home base for walleye, and you know they just flooded that body of water and expanded the size of it. But it was a 1,700 surface acre body of water. You have places like Cherry Creek that are right around 1,000 surface acres. So I mean, I've guided people from the Midwest, and they come out and like you launch, and I'm like, hey man, we're gonna catch fish here. They're like, all right, cool. Is this the Boat Dock Bay, or like where's the body of water? And you're like, man, this is it. Like this is huge for us. This is big. It's crazy. I mean, we guide pike on some of these bodies of water that, people come out and they're like, this is it. And I'm like, don't you worry. So, I mean, small bodies of water, not a lot of water, but extremely healthy fisheries, tons of food. Our walleye, we have so much bait fish in our walleye fisheries. Like it's embarrassing. I mean, there's times you go out there and your graph is so blown out, like it looks like structure and you realize you're on bait fish. So it's kind of our combination of slightly colder water temperatures, plethora of food on all species that just make for literally a growing environment of big fish.
So you say the bait on the walleyes. What is your main bait forage out there?
On our main bodies of water, it's going to be gizzard shad. So all your big bodies of water, Pueblo, Chatfield, Cherry Creek, those are probably your biggest producers right now of big walleye, and they're all very heavily on the gizzard shad side of things.
So with that gizzard shad, they just did a big thing in Lake Oahe this last year of bringing gizzard shad up, and they told us pretty much, at the fisheries meeting, they said pretty much anywhere south of Nebraska, they consider gizzard shad a nuisance fish. Yeah. Nuisance. Because they're a warm water fish, they spawn 4 to 5 times a year. And they told us, like, we're going to see large die-offs. Do you see that with that cold water up there? Or
I haven't seen a die-off since 2006. Chatfield had a small die-off in 2006. I always call them super shad. I've been around the country, and I have watched, if you get a 3 to 5 degree drop in water temperature, you get this massive shad kill. The shores of the lake stink with those shad floating up. We've had one shad kill in 2006, and it was minor, maybe a 30 to 40% die-off of those shad. But we had a massive cold front, literally, tanked the water temperature, maybe a month ago in Denver. And our shad had no issues with it. So, in my career, I've been a guide for 23 years and I've seen one shad die off in my life out here. So I don't know. I've heard rumors from DNR that our shad are slightly tougher. But at the end of the day, no, I have not seen any shad die-offs, and we've had extreme conditions. The only thing that affects our shad population on a given year is when we lower our water during the spawn. So we have one major spawn of shad. They have the ability to spawn multiple times, but at the end of the day, we pretty much get one massive shad spawn. That's going to come late May, early June once that water starts brushing that 70-degree mark. And from time to time, being reservoirs, all reservoir driven, our shad will slide up into that 1, 2, 3 feet of water to spawn, and the Corps of Engineers or whatever the managing partner is will drop that water level because they got calls for water. That's right about the time water, everything's getting warm, crops are getting demanded for water, and they'll lower the water and they'll leave the eggs dry, and we'll get a big shad kill. So last year, like at Chatfield, particularly that body of water, it had a massive, effect on that. So we were probably down 80% on our shad just due to the fact that we didn't get a spawn out of them, which was perfect. So it was like just enough shad to keep the walleyes alive, but so hungry you look like a superstar every time you went on water fishing. So it was fun. I mean, we normally get our first like 100 fish day starting in May, and then like middle of June is when we start hitting those high numbers. We had our first 100 fish day this year, the first maybe the second day of April, third day of April. So I mean, just my boat alone did like 10 to 11,000 walleyes in it this year on these Front Range lakes. So it was fun. Our shad had a banner spawn in June this year, so now we're overloaded with them. But I'll tell you what, April, May, and June was pretty entertaining on our bodies of water.
That's awesome, and that's good to hear. That I mean, and were these shad? Were they brought in as a bait species there, or are they natural?
They were brought in as a bait species, yeah.
So, that's good to hear that they've adapted and continue to, survive in that lake, because that's been the big talk here is what happens when these things die off?
Yeah.
Is this going to be a sustainable thing to continue to stock these things? So that's great to hear that they've adapted to that cold
water. Ours are thriving. Ours are flat out thriving.
So, which we all know fish need bait to eat. Otherwise, we don't have them. So that's awesome. Then you go into your tournaments. Now, you do tournaments so different. It's so interesting to me on how you do your tournaments. You got your Ice Addiction, which is I don't know, is that your biggest series you do? Is probably
that's our biggest series that we do, yep.
So go into your Ice Addiction, what that's all about.
So, every tournament series we do, whether it's open water, ice, everything we kind of do, we're a private entity, obviously, and we have the ability to change, adapt. So many series are built by a chamber of commerce or a township, or there's multiple parties involved, and obviously you have the politics of that. This is pretty much, myself and a handful of my team, and we just listen to the anglers. We always say that we are a series, that literally just took what the anglers asked for and delivered it, and just like every year we're like, hey, you want to change? Perfect. Tell us what you want changed and we'll change it. Like, we can't fish it. It's not our term. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I can't win the money, so I better do what people want. So Ice Addiction started. It kind of got into the works about 12, 13 years ago. This is our 10-year anniversary of the actual series being owned and operated by Tightline Outdoors. So basically what happened years ago, Colorado started having this boom of ice fishing. Everybody started getting into it. The sport took off. Tournaments blew up. Everybody was doing it. And we unfortunately had a pretty large kind of ring of some foul play, right? Guys were using illegal bait. Guys were transferring fish. They were bringing fish in. They were, weighing fish they shouldn't. And either way, not to, dwindle or, dwell on the bad stuff, but like a big kind of uncovering of negativity came out in ice tournaments. And it was a bad deal. And so the general public was like, Nate, what can you do? You fished tournaments your whole life. You've on all levels, you lived in Minnesota for a while. Can you create a tournament that is fun, fair, and eliminate all of that foul play, makes it to where the general public can come and at least compete and know that they are winning or losing on an even playing field. So it started off, actually, I started consulting for various townships. So we had other tournaments in the state, and they hired me, and they're like, what can we do to fix this? How do we make a better tournament series? So I was consulting for all of these other tournaments, and they started to do well. And I was like, this sucks. I should do it for myself. Like, why aren't we doing it for everybody else? So we invented what we now call Ice Addiction. So we kind of took the concepts of, eliminating the foul play by making everybody fish together. We pre-drill the holes. We do all these kind of concepts. And like, I get it. It's not for everybody, right? The guy who knows the lake has a disadvantage at our tournaments, but you can rely on your skill, and that's going to carry you through the tournament and these type tournaments. So Ice Addiction, basically, we took the concept of eliminating foul play, bring in the excitement, the prizes, the big, tent cathedral of an event, and kind of tied it all together. We really hubbed it well to work with all of our partnerships, really give our partners a platform to stand on, to engage with our audience. So we have, it's unbelievably fun. It's entertaining. It's fun. It's fair. You can rely on your talent. We have huge prizes. We have coffee and food. Conservation's met. We have scales right in the middle of the course. So we have zero mortality on our fish. So the DNR agencies do well with it. So we took every concept, and I think we hit it on the head to have the ultimate tournament series when it comes down to Ice Addiction.
So entry fees are reasonable. What's an entry fee into this?
Entry fee is $60. So basically $60 gets you in. The first 500 some people get a Ford bucket. We have tons of prizes. We give prizes every 5 minutes. We have coffee, hot chocolate, and donuts, as much as you can eat or drink for everyone. And then we pay out the top 30. So in the top 30, we're somewhere around that like 28,000 total in cash and prizes.
But if you guys not seen it, check out his Facebook page and look at the pictures. I mean, they have a blow up arch. I mean, it's a production. And anything you've done, Nate, I've watched you for years. You do it as a production. You think of this as, how can we get this out there to the masses? And it's great to see other people that do that. And now in this, is it all trout? Is it all walleye, or is it all species?
It's the heaviest single species. That's kind of the concept. So we'll talk about it when we talk about open water tournaments, but I went down the route of having very team-oriented, more on the professional side of tournaments. And I realized, it's awesome to do that, but we want to engage with the audience. We want the general public. We want to grow the sport of fishing to everyone. So whether you are a 3 or 4 year old, you're a grandma and grandpa, you're everyone in between. We want to make ice addiction capable for you. So we make it to where it's heaviest single fish of any species. So, if you're the person that's like, hey, I've never caught a limit of walleyes in my life. How am I going to compete in a tournament? At ice addiction, one fish can get it done. If you're that talented angler, you can say, hey, I think that everybody's going to be fishing for rainbows. I'm going to fish for lake trout, or I'm going to fish for a big walleye, or whatever the case may be. So we make it literally any species, and the heaviest single fish wins. So where we kind of play on, hey, the talent has a great option. The guy that might need a little bit more luck on the side has a good chance. So we kind of make it to where it fits everybody's kind of concepts and skills to come out here and compete at a big level tournament.
That's pretty cool. Honestly, I'm sorry, but I've run out of questions to ask you. I love the fact that you started talking and just kept rolling. I absolutely love it. I do. Before we get into more conversation, you'd mentioned pike and big pike. I want you to explain this picture.
So, right, we have this awesome lady. Her name's Tammy. She might be watching. Who knows? So Tammy is a hardcore hunter. She's a female hunter. She has hunted on like every continent, every country. I mean, like, you can't even imagine the stuff that she's done. And she dabbles in fishing when she's not hunting. So she had a group of, I believe, 6 or 8 females. We had 2 boats, all female group, and we're catching rainbows, catching pike. And she lands or hooks what ended up being a 47-inch pike. So absolute gagger, big summer fish. So this huge fish. So I'm holding it, tail grab, and I'm holding it like under its gill plate, and we're doing this really cool photo, and I'm just smiling away for the photos. And the thing is so like awkwardly big that she reaches up and she like lifts up its head to like level the fish out so we can actually get a photo of all 47 inches of this fish. When she touches its head, the fish totally freaks out and spins to like get away. I'm still in full cheeser smile looking at the camera like, and boom, mouth open, 17 cuts down my face. So like it hits me, right? I fall. Luckily I land inside the boat. So I fall in the boat, still got the fish. I'm like, I ate it pretty hard, right? I hit my head on the side of the gunnel. We finished the photos, kicked the fish loose, fish swims away, and everybody in the boat's like, you're bleeding. I'm like, oh no, it's just the fish blood. They're like, no, you're bleeding. And I'm like, no, it's the fish, I'm telling you. She's like, say whatever you want. I can see gashes in your face. You're bleeding. So this lady, Tammy, is such a rock star, and all these ladies that are such like hardcore hunters, they're like, they got their fanny packs, like, lay down, we'll take care of you. Like, pretty soon I'm laying down, and they got like hydrogen peroxide, they got gauze, they like 5 seconds later, I'm like all bandaged up, and we're back to fishing. But yeah, that was a doozy. That one got me pretty good.
Yeah,
I have not shaved since then. I trim it, but I haven't shaved since then. But I still have all the cuts on my face.
no kidding. That's a great story. At least you didn't get
17
hurt.
cuts.
Well, you mentioned hunting. Let me throw a couple of pictures out here because you do hunt too. And obviously, these two young fellas, are they yours?
They are. So that is Lane and Lauren. I have 10-year-old twins. That's a great story there. So that turkey right there, they both got turkeys their first time out. Better yet, they passed hunter safety at 7 p.m. the Friday night before that hunt. That was a Saturday morning. They passed hunter safety at Friday night at 7 p.m. We had to drive across town to find a retailer open to buy a turkey tag because they couldn't buy one until they passed hunter safety. We had like turkey tags in hand at like 8 p.m., drove out to eastern Colorado, and at like 8 a.m. my son shot his first gobbler, and at like 9:30 my daughter got her first gobbler, and it's crazy. So I'm doing this podcast from Kansas. I am in a small city just outside of Dodge City on a whitetail hunt. But last week I was in Wisconsin hanging out with actually some very professional anglers. I was hanging out with all the Blosser brothers. So I'm sure you guys heard of Robert Blosser and Josh Blosser, the hardcore tournament anglers. I was hunting with those guys, and both of those kids both got their first big game animals, and they both got deer. Lauren got hers opening day because Lane got his turkey first, so Lauren got to shoot her deer first, and then Tuesday night Lane got his big buck. So yeah, excited to be sharing the outdoors with those two little kiddos.
That's fantastic. Big elk hunter too. Well, that's a monster elk.
That is probably my true passion and probably my true talent. Chasing elk is by far my favorite thing in the world to do. I think partly because I have so much respect for those animals of what they do on a physical level, how they live, just what an elk is in nature is like my biggest, just what I have more respect for than anything else. So chasing those, archery equipment, muzzleloader rifle, absolutely is probably one of the coolest things I do. And yeah, that was one from this year, and it was a doozy.
What'd that score?
So that was from this year.
That was from this year. That was October 28th. So that was opening day of second rifle. I've never hunted second rifle. I wanted to take a stab at it, and yeah, it worked out. I haven't scored him. He's so non-typical. He has a broken tine on his left. He would have been 10 legal points there. So right between his sword and that other point, he has a broken one. Then he's a big clubbed out 5 on the other side. I don't even know how to go about starting to score him. And biggest bodied bull I've ever seen in my entire life. I mean, it was like walking up on a horse. It was crazy. Like I walked up, and I hate to say it, in such a remote area, it's not exactly what I was looking for. Like I walk up and I'm like, holy cow. My cameraman and I had the hardest time rolling him over to get a picture. I mean, it was crazy.
Oh. Wow. And
then the work begins.
A lot of work. A lot of work. I rarely ever don't get them out in a day, and I had to come back the second day for the rest of that one.
Oh, geez.
So how many days out of the year?
Opening day, and it started snowing, turned it into a blizzard. By the time we were done cutting them up, doing photos, video, all the stuff, we had like 5 inches of snow, took what we could, ended up getting 25 inches of snow by the next morning, and I had to finish them up the next morning.
Wow.
Jeez.
Yeah, that reminds me of my elk hunt in 2008. It was 70 degrees. It went to 7 below zero. We had our elk up the mountain. We were up by Rabbit Ears Pass.
Okay.
And we had to ride the horses up. We'd quartered them the night before, woke up to a foot of snow, walked up those rocks with the ice and the snow, brought the quarters down, and it was a great experience. It was hell. I'm going to tell you.
I mean, that's the bit. Like, you judge the misery, and that's how you judge the experience. Like, the nice ones, they don't remember that much, but the ones that are, just shy of killing you, those are the ones you remember the most.
Oh, it's crazy. And then when you're hunting out there, we to get back to the trailer, it was 3.5 hours going through burnouts. And, it was going through those areas that had burnt were really tough. But luckily, we had pack horses that were unbelievable. I had a horse called Big Block. I called him 454. He was an awesome horse. Absolutely loved him, but it was a great experience. I don't know if I'll ever do it again, but it was a ton of fun. Now, do you guide hunts and fishing trips and all that too, right?
I don't guide hunts anymore. So I guide hunts for 10 years. Been out of it now. So now I'm just on the digital content side. So just hunt, tell the story, and teach people how to be successful in their own stuff.
That's a cool avenue to go down because, like you said, you've done it all. Now teach everybody else how to do it, right?
That's it. We want everybody to be able to create. We love the opportunity of guided hunts and those opportunities, but we know for so many people that's never going to be an option. So our goal is for everybody to have the opportunity at a world-class hunt to be able to do it themselves.
So people can follow you on the socials. You've got a big following on YouTube too. Tell us about your YouTube channel.
I don't put any effort into it, but we're about to start. So basically all the content goes to a lot of our partners' pages. So if you go to the Big Game Hunting series, that's actually a series I produce for a DNR agency called Colorado Parks and Wildlife. So almost all my content goes out through brands. I do a ton of stuff through Ruger Firearms. We do a lot of stuff through Ford. We do a lot of stuff through CPW. So almost all my content goes out to various different people. But we're getting ready to kind of bring back and or launch our e-blast system. So we'll have Team Tightline. That's how you would start on it now, but you can get to that. Then you'll kind of diversify and we'll go to hunting and fishing and kind of everything else out there. But you can always follow us on our Facebook page, which is Tightline Outdoors. I have my own personal page, just Nate Zelinsky. We have Instagram, which is Nate Zelinsky. Then we kind of go everything out there. I'm not going to lie. I think right now we have 45, hunts or kills on film. We have probably 10 to 15 educational pieces for every one of those. And we're just sitting on it. A lot of our partners have it, but we're going to gather all the content, organize it, and distribute it probably here in the next couple months. So I would say stay tuned for some massive content releases coming up here this coming year.
Oh, that's cool. So let me ask you, do you know Jim Zelinsky? There can't be that many Zelinskys out there.
I know him from shows, but I don't. Okay. I don't know him. We're not related, but yeah, definitely from industry stuff. Definitely.
Yeah, he's a heck of a nice guy. I just sitting here listening to you talk and watching. I'm like, there could be a little relation there in some way somehow. But yeah, that's amazing. And obviously, Terry Wickstrom then.
Yep.
Okay.
I host. I'm the 10 o'clock segment on the Terry Wickstrom show every weekend. We think Terry and I were talking about the other day. I think I've been doing it for 14 years on that radio show.
Wow.
So you're
used to talking, that's for certain, and you're good at it.
I do a lot of talking.
So you do all this stuff, and when you do seminars, your seminars are a lot different than other people's. When I've sit and listened to them, it's not the jigging, it's not the the wrapping or whatever. You're like, what's your one coming up in St. Paul, like decision making? And
it's decision making. Yep. It's funny because we were laughing about that today. Everybody has these like legit epic PowerPoints, and I have one slide, and everybody's like, come on, like the show's laughing at me, and I'm like, here's the deal, and I'm not making fun of anybody else or their styles, but when I sit down at that show on Saturday night, I'm going to a seminar on decision making, good, bad decisions, when to move, when to stay, what to use, how to jig. I see them on the graph. How many should I see? Whatever, all the stuff. But the biggest thing is some of the seminar speakers are going to build these PowerPoints a month ago, today, whatever. And all of a sudden you sit down and you got 30 people in front of you. And when you say is like, hey, how many of you, like walleye fishing? You have this whole PowerPoint on walleye, and everybody's like, never caught one. How do we do it? So my whole concept on speaking is I'm going to sit down and the first 3-5 minutes, I'm going to talk to everybody in the audience, and we're going to feel out where they are, who they are, what their skill level is, what equipment. And then on the fly, I'm going to build that seminar for those 30, 40, 50 people sitting in the audience to make sure I don't waste their time. I used to do these pre-built seminars, and then you get there and you don't feel like you impacted the audience because they were not who you thought they were. Maybe their skill level was more advanced. Maybe it was less advanced. But yeah, so it's decision making. It's one slide. We're going to engage with everybody. We're going to figure out what they need to know, what's going to help them become more successful and a better angler at the end of that seminar. And we're going to adapt it to those individual anglers that came out to the show. And I promise they'll walk away with what they need, the skill sets to catch more fish at the end of the day.
I love that. You know what, Kurt? I think I'm going to find another piece of the puzzle on Saturday night.
That's it. Make sure you come by.
Fantastic.
So we kind of jumped off the tournament stuff, but now you do your ice stuff, but then you have your summer stuff, which is a catch rate tournament.
Yep. So catch rate. So here we had a bunch of different series, right? We had Bass Obsession, 2-man team, $500 entry, big payout, hardcore, like legit bass tournament. We had walleye insanity, hardcore walleye tournament. We had a carp tournament. We had all these very legit tournaments, which I want to say were kind of cookie cutter to the industry, right? High entry fee, big payout, 2-man teams, the whole gamut. I was in the parking lot at one of my walleye tournaments. And I got like 70 boats in the parking lot here, and I am watching these guys, and I'm watching the conversations. The guy's hiding the baits, right? The guy that I know is doing one technique, and somebody's like, "Hey, what'd you catch him on?" "Oh yeah, we were whacking him on this." And I don't want to say it's a lie, but I watched this, and I am like, this is the most unfriendly environment in the entire world. Like, my goal is to grow walleye fishing, grow tournament fishing, grow bass, whatever. Excuse me. And I'm walking through the audience and I'm watching these people and I'm like, this is awful. Like, this is not something that a newbie is going to come into and be like, that was fun. Everybody was helpful. They helped me catch some fish. Like, I'm like, it's not what I want. I want a bowling league where everybody spills the beans, everybody has fun, and everybody gets along. So I wanted more engagement. I wanted to grow the sport. So we dropped all the big level tournaments. We call it catch rate. So now you show up. We have 1 to 2 weekend events. The rest are Wednesday nights. And the Wednesday nights are like my babies. That's my fun time. So Wednesday night, they go from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. It's $20 per species. So we have a walleye division, a bass division, a trout division, or a carp division. You can catch walleye, you can fish walleye and bass. You can do whatever you want. $20 per angler per species. We give you a bump board on site. So you take our bump board that day. We give you a code word. You literally take your cell phone out, selfie style. You catch a fish. You measure the fish. You show the head on the bump. You show the bump board. You show the tail. You say the code word. You text it into me, super old school. And the longest fish wins. Second place, third place, fourth place, and so forth. You can fish by yourself. You can fish with 6 guys on your boat. I don't care. Pile them on, go have fun, catch fish. You can fish from a kayak, a float tube. You can fish from shore. So we did this low entry fee, but all of a sudden, we get 100 guys fishing walleye. We get, average Wednesday nights, probably 60 to 80 fishing walleye. Big weekend ones, we'll have 300 fishing walleye. But all of a sudden, we get so much participation that we still have these massive payouts. So we still have a huge payout for a $20 buy-in. Our partners kick in. So first place is cash. First place is a $100 Bass Pro gift card. First place also gets a $100 rod from Eagle Claw. And then we have food and drink brought to us by our partners. So Reynolds Roofing Systems is our partner for that. So every night we have pizza as much as you can eat. We have all the drinks and sodas and all that kind of that you can eat. So $20. Big cash prize, big first place, food, drink, all of that kind of stuff. The atmosphere is incredible. We have people that have literally created lifelong friendship. We have people that fish from shore and they're hanging out in the parking lot and guys with boats are like, hey, you fish from shore? Man, come on, let's jump on the boat next time. And everything about it is such a cool environment, so user-friendly. I absolutely love the series.
That's super cool.
And that's, these anglers have really became like my family. My kids run registrations. Those kids you saw earlier, they run the registrations. So you show up, they're helping check people in, passing out the bump boards. It's a good time.
That's really neat.
And that's what I've always looked up to you for is, the outside the box thinking, what you do, and you don't, I'm stuck in status quo, right? High entry fee, big payouts. I mean, I do that stuff and it works for us for what we do, but
absolutely.
My goal over the next few years is to get more, involvement from the, the non-tournament anglers, the kids, the people that just say, I can't come fish against that.
Yep.
Like people will call me up all the time. I've never fished a tournament. I want to fish a tournament. What should I fish? I'm not super competitive. And I'm like, well,
that's where I was at, because I was the same way. And again, I think there's a place, and you need your tournaments. Yeah. I just was like, I have the ability to drop it. Like, I have no ties to it. Like, I'm like, that one's done. New one's in. You know, and every night we have like a theme, you know what I mean? So we have bonuses. So like I fished against the walleye guys one night. If they beat me, they got, you know, an extra $100, $250, $500, whatever the case may be. I fished against the carp guys. We have a youth night. Our youth night, I think we had 100 youth anglers show up, and we gave every single kid a prize. So a tackle box, a rod, a reel. So every night we have something unique that goes on. And yeah, it's just about, I mean, it's about the anglers and about the engagement.
That's awesome. And see you so passionate about it. This many years in the industry, and it's like you still got that fire. You know, you see a lot of guys that get 20 years in the industry and they're like, oh, I've done it. You know,
that's just because we mix it up enough. We got to keep it fresh, you know.
They get stuck in the rut, right? I mean, they get stuck in the rut, and that's one thing about you. And even your hunting stuff, you did it for 10 years. You kind of said, okay, we ran that course, but then you transferred into, you know, doing your other stuff of educational stuff, and it's super awesome. I love your relationship you have with the Colorado Fish and Wildlife Service out there. I mean, that's really cool. I mean, you went down that road of, you know, partnering with them. They can be your enemy or they can be your partner, and you know, and it's awesome because you're making waves in a good way.
That's it. We just started a relationship with the DWR of Utah that we're going to start cranking on some stuff this spring, and I'm excited about it because, again, everybody can sit there and complain about their DNR agency, right? And there's a, like, no matter what side you're on, there's complaints. You can complain this way, they complain that way, but typically the grunts and grinds from the corner don't really get anything done. So partnering up with them, yeah, I love it. And, you know, you learn so much about it. And sometimes when you've complained about decisions from the past, once you're on their side and you're in their shoes, you're like, huh, I see why we did that. Yeah. So you learn a lot. Yeah, again, our goal or my goal is just to grow the sport. And I mean, at the true end of the day, and this is the honest truth, we always say that an educated angler or an educated hunter is a better hunter or an angler, and they don't have any of the issues. You know, people are like, you shouldn't tell people the stuff you're telling about hunting. But I'm like, hey, if I teach somebody to hunt right, they're not the guy with the bad wind blowing out the elk. They're not the guy that shows up late that slams his car door. I'm like, the educated guy is a good hunter, and I will gladly hunt alongside that person. It's the uneducated angler or the hunter that tends to has the issues that, you know, causes, you know, problems or such, you know, so forth. And the uneducated angler is the guy that's killing big fish and doing things that you shouldn't be doing. You know, if everybody's slightly more education, slightly more conservation minded, the whole system works better for itself.
That's very well said. I love hearing that. It makes a lot of sense, and more people need to hear that.
Definitely. You know, so no secrets with us. I'll tell you everything. You know what I mean? Every technique, every whatever. We don't hold back anything. A lot of people judge us for not holding back, but again, at the end of the day, that better hunter and angler is a better steward to the land and the resource.
Fantastic. Well, I'll tell you what, this has been exciting. I can't believe it's 37, 38 minutes into it, and it feels like we've been here for 2 minutes. It's been wonderful. It's been great to have you.
That's just why Terry has me on. He gets to drink coffee for his 15-minute segment of my radio show.
I told Nate, I said, you know, we shoot for this amount of time, but with me and you, I'm sure it can go forever. So, but yeah, I mean, so like I said, people want to get a hold of you. You check out Tightline. You've got some great partners. Anybody you want to shout out to in the industry that have backed you for years, go ahead and do so. And make sure people know where to get follow you at.
Absolutely. You know, and like anything in the world, I mean, we have some great sponsors, but like everything we do in our relationship, it's partnerships. We are not the quick overnight, quick hitter with sponsors. I mean, it's all about those partnerships. So we have a ton of them. You can always just jump online. You'll see them all, things like that. You know, I'll be in the clam booth at the St. Paul Ice Show. So, you know, if you want to come see me at the St. Paul Ice Show, I'll be hanging out in the clam booth pretty much that entire show. I couldn't do anything without Ford trucks. Ford trucks, you say the word and they're on it. Bass Pro, Cabela's, Eagle Claw, I mean, all the partners, right? We're there. We have worked with them between all the tournament series, everything we do. We probably work with 30 or 40 partners. I promise you, if it's a company that we don't strongly back, endorse, and believe in, we don't take them. We are not that company that is chasing the dollar, chasing the product. We work with everything as a partnership and as a longevity. That's probably the biggest thing that I would say that we do. So again, we're more viewing them as partners. It's stuff that we use, we need, we grow with, and that we utilize.
Fantastic.
What is your go-to ice jig from clam? We all have our go-to. What's your go-to?
I would say right now probably a Tikka minnow.
The Tikka minnow.
No kidding.
The Tikkas were hot on open water there at the very end. Some of the unique color patterns they had. So I would say the Tikka is probably my go-to right now.
Yeah, I just saw that the Tikka flash that Jason Mitchell posted.
Yep.
I think it looks like a big goldfish out there. I think that's so. Well, that's awesome, Nate. Man, I know you got a big day of hunting tomorrow. A short day of hunting. A big morning.
Hopefully the deer gods are on my side. I gotta get that done, finish this hunt, and then burn home and get on a plane to head to St. Paul.
Well, buddy, it's great hearing from you tonight. It's great talking to you. I don't know if we'll make St. Paul, but I will be in Colorado, so we'll have to touch base. I know you're gonna go from seminar to boom out in the ice.
The truck will be parked just outside of the convention center on a little side street with a 50-foot trailer hooked up, and I literally get off stage on my last seminar, get into our 68.5-foot rig, and up to a tournament.
Wow, that's fantastic! What a fascinating life you live.
We bounce around. We keep it interesting, that's for sure. You might want to talk to my wife about the schedule. I think she might do it slightly differently. But we take advantage of every opportunity to get outside and enjoy the great sports of hunting and fishing.
Fantastic. Nate, it's been great to have you. Great to meet you. We'll see you in St. Paul for certain.
See you there. Perfect. Absolutely.
Wonderful. All right. Take care.
See you, Nate.
All right. Well, that is way too much fun. I got to tell you that right now. That is way too much fun. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.